Charleston White is a public figure who has become known for his outspoken views on crime, gang culture, and the African American community. With a background that includes time in the criminal justice system, White's life is a story of transformation. From a troubled youth who once embraced gang life to a man determined to speak out about the realities of crime, violence, and systemic issues. However, White is also a polarizing figure. While many see him as a voice for truth and reform, others criticize his abrasive style and incendiary remarks. Understanding Charleston White's life, his evolution, and why his voice has become both relevant and divisive in today's socio-political climate requires a look at the personal and societal forces that shaped him. His story is not just about one man's journey, but also a reflection of broader issues in the United States, particularly regarding criminal justice, race, and community reform. Early life. Growing up in the streets. Charleston White was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, in an environment that exposed him to the harsh realities of street life from a young age. Growing up in a predominantly African American neighborhood, White's formative years were shaped by poverty, crime, and the influence of gang culture. In interviews and public appearances, White has often spoken candidly about the lack of positive role models in his early life, the allure of gangs, and the normalization of violence in his community. At a young age, White joined the notorious Crips gang, which introduced him to a world of crime and violence. The gang lifestyle offered a sense of belonging and power, but it also came with immense consequences. By the time he was a teenager, White found himself embroiled in criminal activity that would alter the course of his life. In 1991, at the age of 14, White and a group of friends committed a crime that would define his youth, the killing of a man during a robbery. Though White did not pull the trigger, he was convicted as a juvenile and sentenced to 12 years in a Texas juvenile detention facility. Prison, a turning point. White's incarceration proved to be the pivotal moment in his life. Facing a long sentence as a young teenager, he was forced to confront the choices he had made. During his time in detention, White had a chance to reflect on his life and the culture of violence and criminality he had embraced. He often speaks of prison as a place that helped him mature and reevaluate his beliefs about gangs and crime. Instead of succumbing to the prison environment, White decided to change his life. While incarcerated, White began to educate himself. He read extensively, studied history, and sought out knowledge that would help him better understand the forces that had shaped his circumstances. Education became a tool for empowerment, allowing him to see beyond the narrow world of street violence. White often credits this period as the beginning of his transformation into a thinker and activist. White's release from juvenile detention in the late 1990s marked the start of a new chapter in his life. After serving nearly 7 years, he emerged with a new perspective on life, determined not to return to the criminal path that had led him to prison. He dedicated himself to becoming an advocate for youth, aiming to use his own experiences as a cautionary tale to steer others away from the choices he had made. Upon his release, Charleston White became heavily involved in community outreach and youth activism. He co-founded the nonprofit organization Helping Young People Excel, or HYPE, which focuses on providing mentorship and guidance to at-risk youth. White's goal with HYPE was to reach young people who, like him, were caught in cycles of crime, gang activity, and incarceration. Through HYPE and his outreach work, White visited schools, juvenile detention centers, and community organizations, delivering speeches and hosting workshops aimed at deterring youth from gang life and encouraging them to pursue education and personal development. His work gained recognition for its authenticity. White spoke from personal experience, making his message resonate deeply with those he sought to help. White's approach to activism is unorthodox but deeply personal. He often emphasizes the importance of education, self-discipline, and accountability. Unlike many traditional activists, White does not shy away from blunt and often controversial language. He frequently calls out the glorification of gang culture and the detrimental effects of certain aspects of hip-hop culture that, in his view, promote violence and criminality. He also criticizes systemic issues like poverty and a lack of resources in inner-city communities, but is equally critical of individuals who, he argues, perpetuate their own circumstances by embracing destructive lifestyles. In recent years, Charleston White has gained widespread attention, both positive and negative. due to his outspoken views on social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram. His commentary on race relations, crime, and African American culture has stirred significant controversy, largely because of his confrontational style. White has positioned himself as a truth-teller, unafraid to criticize everyone from rappers to community leaders. A significant part of White's rhetoric involves calling out the glorification of gang members in the media and entertainment industry. He frequently criticizes popular rappers who he believes contribute to the perpetuation of violence and crime through their music and public personas. White's comments on prominent figures like Nipsey Hussle and King Von, both rappers who were killed due to gun violence, have attracted widespread backlash, particularly within the hip-hop community. White's incendiary remarks often provoke strong reactions, and many accuse him of being insensitive or disrespectful to the deceased. However, White defends his position, arguing that he is trying to break the cycle of violence by challenging the narratives that glamorize street life. According to White, he is not attacking the individuals but rather the culture that celebrates criminality and gang affiliation. Beyond his commentary on gang culture and the music industry, White has also become known for his critiques of the broader African American community. He has repeatedly spoken out against what he perceives as a lack of accountability within certain segments of the community, particularly in relation to crime, family structure, and economic development. While many of his comments resonate with those frustrated by persistent social issues, they also alienate individuals who feel that White's tone is divisive and harmful. Despite the controversy surrounding Charleston White, his story and message resonate on several important levels. White's life embodies the complex realities of growing up in an environment shaped by systemic oppression, poverty, and violence. His journey from gang member to prison inmate, and eventually to activist and public figure, highlights the possibility of redemption and personal transformation. White's evolution challenges the idea that individuals from marginalized communities are trapped by their circumstances, offering hope that change is possible through education, self-awareness, and determination. White's work with at-risk youth also underscores a key issue in American society: the failure of systems to provide adequate support for young people in vulnerable situations. His activism, though controversial in style, draws attention to the need for mentorship, education, and intervention in the lives of those most at risk of falling into criminal activity. By speaking directly to youth in schools and juvenile facilities, White is trying to reach individuals who often feel overlooked by traditional institutions. Furthermore, White's public commentary forces an uncomfortable conversation about the role of culture in perpetuating cycles of violence and poverty. His critiques of gang culture and the entertainment industry, while harsh, raise valid questions about the impact of media and celebrity culture on young people. White asks whether the glorification of gang life and criminal behavior in music, films, and social media perpetuates harmful stereotypes and influences real-world actions. At the same time, White's message is not without its flaws. His brash, sometimes offensive rhetoric alienates potential allies and stirs unnecessary controversy. In attempting to provoke conversation, he occasionally crosses lines that may do more harm than good, particularly when addressing sensitive topics like race and violence. His comments on individuals, particularly those who have passed away, often overshadow the larger points he is trying to make about cultural change. However, White's significance lies in his willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. While many public figures in the African American community choose to focus on systemic issues like police brutality, mass incarceration, and economic inequality, all valid concerns, White focuses more on internal community dynamics. He encourages a dialogue about personal responsibility and self-improvement, which, though controversial, is an important part of the larger conversation about progress and reform. Charleston White's life is a reflection of both the individual and societal struggles faced by African Americans growing up in poverty, surrounded by violence and limited opportunities. His transformation from a gang-affiliated youth to a community advocate is a testament to the power of personal redemption and the potential for change. His message, though divisive, challenges us to think critically about the ways in which culture, media, and individual choices intersect to shape our communities. While Charleston White's brash and controversial style is not for everyone, His story and message are important because they force a conversation about the realities of gang culture, crime, and personal accountability in the African American community. White's ability to speak candidly, often in ways that others cannot or will not, gives him a unique voice in today's socio-political landscape. He has made it his mission to challenge narratives, provoke thought, and ultimately inspire change, both in individuals and within the broader society.